what greatly like influenced you to like diverge really like to go for TV from like at 13? Because at 13, yes, I think 13 we all wanted to like it would be like you feel like yeah I really want to be on TV, like it would be a good thing, like yeah everyone is watching you, but there has to be like that whole motivation, like you know what, I actually want to have a show on TV, like I can't do this show, like there has to be big motivation.
Yeah, that's peeping. Baby. Um. Um. Okay. So, what inspired me or motivated me to join TV and radio?
Before, because 13 you do not know what you're going to offer, you don't know if you're really going to do well.
So, first, I would say my parents. My mom is very, very eloquent. She's very well spoken. She used to love watching news, and she had these personalities that she would really attach herself to. Like she'd say, "Oh, you know, this person really does the news well," and she was the kind of person who, because of her eloquence and her confidence and being so well spoken, she was always chosen as the MC for like the family events back in that day. So I would look at her and how she's doing that, and I'm like, wow, that seems like a huge responsibility, but also it comes with so much honor, because the respect they used to give MCs those days. Remember, they never used to pay MCs. They would just pick someone from the family who can do it well and do it. Then, of course, my dad. My dad is very creative, and he promotes creativity so much. From a young age, we were drawing, we were going to fashion shows, we were modeling in part of the fashion shows, we were showing off his designs, we were going to musical festivals and concerts. And when you're exposed to this at an early age, it really gives you that as a, because it gives you the different opportunities that you can have in your life on like a plate. You're like, oh, I went to this show and this person was performing and they were really good. I think I have it in me to do that. I went to this art exhibition and this person really did like a masterpiece art painting. I think I could do that. I went to this show and this person was a really good host or MC. I think I can do that.
And now you're doing the whole MC thing. Do you look back at these big events and you're like, you know, this was actually a dream I had?
I remember when I met Juliana for the first time, Juliana Kanyomozi. It was at a art exhibition, but it was also a fashion exhibition at, I think, Hotel Africana. And I was very young, probably 10 or 12. And she was getting ready. She had people like working on her, and you know, she had this really cute outfit on. And you could tell she was nervous because like it was behind the scenes and she was trying to calm herself down, and then she got on stage, and the respect she commanded and the sound that she belted out, I was just like, this is a phenomenal woman. Because just a few seconds ago, she was like a regular person like us. And she got on stage and she was a complete superstar. So I was like, man, that looks like something that I would like want to. Yeah, I was blown away. But also the schools that I went to, they encourage that kind of stuff so much. I went to Lohana Academy. I know most people who went to Lohana do.
Into the creative world.
Yeah.
I remember in Go, we used to call you rowdy people.
Yeah, because we were about that life. I then went to Makerere College School, which is all about performing arts.
True.
That is the thing they push the most, and sports. So, you know, I feel. And then I went to UCU. At university is where Ninja C was born, but not so much because of the university.
Yeah.
I think the university helped to keep me in line, teach me the morals, teach me.
The university also has this whole reputation thing of people are really smart from the university and stuff.
Yeah.
But then morally, it has like public. It's no public secret.
Which one? UCU? It's two worlds, honestly. Yes. I'll tell you. Yes. It's two worlds. You go to UCU and you still want to turn up. Just like, the thing is, university
I really
is university.
Even because I was a mock, and I think most turn-ups had to be in Mukono. Like,
because it's out of town. Yeah, because it's out of town. But when you think about it, university generally is a place where freedom comes. True, right? True. And with freedom, exactly, with freedom, there's so many decisions that people are going to take, especially young people. However, again, there's two groups, I feel, that come from UCU. Yeah. You meet the people who are like down to earth, read their books, do their thing. Yes, they'll go out and party because it's university. but they're not that crazy. And then you have the other group, because they know that they are far and their parents are not going to have any clue what is happening where they are. They really go all out. But also why it's unique is because people assume that it's because it's a Christian university. Everyone is supposed to be all holy and one. But they don't judge people
Actually,
in
that's
MOOC.
it, yes,
You get, they don't
yes.
judge people in
That,
MOOCs.
that is where the misconception
Exactly.
is.
They don't
It's a
judge.
Christian
Yeah.
university.
Everyone thinks, oh, if you're in a Christian
hail
university,
like
then
sisters.
everyone is supposed to be like, no, but everyone has a different personality. Just because they're in a particular kind of school is not going to change who they are ultimately.
You mentioned something about the two worlds at campus with the freedom.
Yeah.
How do you as an individual now really keep composed? First of all, also, you are a lucky person, yeah?
Yeah, I am.
Blessed to be more or less.
That's true.
Yes,
Yes, I am
in fact.
blessed.
So how do you not step out of this whole, you know what, I have very many options of life, it's very many, and you just keep in mind, you keep focused, actually become a media personality. I'm saying this because I have a lot of friends, most are blessed, and it has not always been that way. We're still fighting, yeah? It's also the path of the line of the life you've chosen is the high life. that
The
comes at
high
a very
life,
high cost.
yes.
There are things like drugs, you might not skip
Yeah.
along the way. So how do you really, you as an individual come out to be like, you know what? Is it God's blessing, or you really had like a plan, or you really had like a vision or focus, or you do not?
You just talked about good, and I remember this verse from the Bible where it says, teach your child the ways of the Lord, and they will never depart from them.
Yeah.
So that comes down to like parenting again. That's why I was saying, like, I really have to attribute it to my parents. They've raised us in a way where don't take life for granted, and everything you have, like, treasure it, treasure it and use it to the best of your ability, not just to help yourself, but to help others. My parents are quite humble from the kind of backgrounds that they come from. They're both royal. They're both, esteemed people in society. But it's not the essence of their life. The essence of their life is happiness. They really promote unity, especially like if you meet us, me and my siblings and my parents, we're always together. We always do things together. We show each other a lot of love, and as a result,
agree.
it overflows.
I see that.
Yeah.
I think every day.
Yeah, as a result, it overflows to other people. So now with those core values, and this is important, especially for parents who identify, because I can tell you, all parents whose children end up in this world had a hunch it was going to happen. Like, you can look at your child and you just know, there is a slight inclination to going into,
This
journalism, media, music, dance, drama, based on how my child is reflecting, the qualities they're reflecting. And the moment you notice that, it's very good to nurture it, to encourage it, but also to control how they perceive themselves and they want to be perceived.
Yeah.
To teach them that there are lines you should not cross when you get into the public space. There's a way that you need to carry yourself, and also put the burden of where they're from on them. Like, you're not just representing yourself, but you're
It's a whole
representing,
brand and culture.
all the ancestors of Chiruhura district.
True. So let's talk about you. 20 years in the media. Yeah.
That is one of the hardest things for a media personality that I find, talking about myself.
What have you achieved, like 20 years in media? In media, like, what is that thing that in these 20 years, it doesn't have to be like tangible and stuff. Like, I've contributed this much to how media was and how I was, something like that.
Well, for one, it's definitely the experience. 20 years in media for a Ugandan journalist or media personality means that you've seen and done and reached so many heights, right?
Yeah,
The
20
media
years is big.
industry 20 years ago is not what it was.
How do you mean?
It's not what it is now, in the sense that the way we gather information, like even when I was posting that tweet on my Twitter account, the biggest thing that I noticed was the way we used to do things before was so different. It's when you realize the growth in technology, it's when you realize the growth in the kind of personalities they're looking for these days in TV. I know this is going to be like popular, unpopular opinion, but like as the times go, you realize that those days, because there were so many people who didn't really fancy being in the media, the people who were in it were really people who wanted to do it and wanted to be good at it. But now, because it has become the in thing to be on TV, on radio, means that so many people want to do it, and it takes minimal work to select. However, what separates creme de la creme from ordinary is the hard work that they put in. And
what hard work is there with radio? Like, how do you put up a show? And this is like in its entirety. I want to understand, because just a podcast is like too much.
Too much. Yeah. People see things, they watch TV, they listen to radio, and they imagine that what they hear is how things go down. And this is what I was talking about, the difference between back in the day and now. Yeah. Now, imagine right now, we have Google, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have YouTube.
So much information on like...
So much information. Yeah? So surely you should be able to prepare adequately for whatever it is that you're going to do. And that is why I said that now it's easy to separate creme de la creme from the hard workers. Because if you go on air and you sound like you have no substance, people will be able to tell, because remember, they're also getting this information on their side.
Yeah, true.
So now it comes down to preparation, delivery. So how do you organize yourself?
Mostly for a morning show that really gets people like out of bed. Like, you really have to start our day.
You really have to, and you have to do it.
You're responsible for my mood and how I'm going to perform in the day.
Exactly.
If I get bored from what you're going to tell me, you're just going to
I've killed your day.
True.
Yes. And
so
it has to be systematic. Yeah. And when you ask me what have I achieved, and I told you experience. Yeah. In 20 years, I've met so many people. Yeah. In the industry, out of the industry, people connected to the industry, and every person you meet teaches you something different.
Sure.
The people I met when I was joining Teens Club on WBS, the people who shaped me in the right direction, those were crucial, because if they didn't want anything to do with me, or if they felt that I was not someone worth investing time on, I would probably not have made it this far. And that's why one of the things that I feel that I have achieved in the 20 years is to be able to inspire and also promote fellow people who I know have the capacity and the talent to be personalities. It doesn't make sense to make it this far and not pull up people with you, right? So I always made it a point. If I noticed that someone had a skill, or if I noticed that someone really wanted to be in that industry, which is, again, like I said, very rare these days.
True. And also, one of the things that people weigh onto like achievements is the people you pull up.
Exactly.
Do you have like substantial, like people you'd spot on name, like, you know what? Because of my guidance, I have made like a figure, let's say in the media, who I do not know. Or you don't want to make names.
So the thing, I wouldn't say that I made them.
Okay, not like making them.
Because they worked hard. But I work with so many young people. Most of the people that I work with are younger than me. Yeah. For example, I remember the person who vividly sticks in my mind is Martha Kay. Yeah. I occasionally would have conversations with her because she wanted to be in this, kind of business. And I've seen that she's used some of this advice, and I like the direction she's taken, and she's doing well.
Yeah, I agree.
Marita is younger than me, believe it or not, and we have worked on so many projects. And actually, the thing you find with working with young people is how exposed they are. So they teach you something in return. Same thing with Sabrina. Same thing with... there's so many that I can't name. Derek, who's my current co-host, he's younger than me, but, we've learned from each other.
Plus now you bring on the experience, and the blend just...
Exactly. But you were asking me, how do you maintain, like, for example, a good radio show or a good TV show? One, you must always be open to learning. Because, like I said, with this digital era, tomorrow there's a new website that's coming up. You have to learn how to use it. You have to learn how to be conversant with it and use it to get more following, but also to deliver your message out there. Then there's the preparation part. That I learned from one of my biggest mentors, who's called KK.
Oh yeah, KK is
a household name in the media. And one thing he used to say, never leave anything to chance. Because like you said, people are listening to us, people are watching us, and we could make or break their day. How about you focus on making their day? Do the research. He would sit with a pen and a paper for the how many years did he do that show? Was it 6, 8 years when he
Crazy.
did the Exit?
Exit. And I was like
Sit.
an addict to the Exit.
Yeah, he would
This-
sit and write all the data that he was going to do on his show, and then he would put a twist on it. So you have to make it relatable, right? Because we're in Uganda, Kampala is super hot. You can't start talking about winter and,
Yeah.
things that people here can't relate to. Unless, you have a huge audience from the diaspora, but even
True.
then,
It's really tricky if you're... Then in a world where there's like so much information
Yeah.
and you cannot... It's that there's a very thin line between what's fake and what's real.
Yeah.
Because there's so much people giving so much opinion on so much stuff, and everyone really thinks they've researched their stuff.
Yeah.
How do you select this information? Like, how do you know that, what, this research I'm making is what I want to give my people? For
Well-
like a brand that is too big, where like there's very many listeners. and-
Exactly. Yeah. I love the media so much that I actually did it as like a professional course at university.
You said it. Okay, right.
So
That
when you
makes
do
sense.
mass communication,
Mm.
they always tell you like verify your information before you put it out there.
true.
It's like one of the basic rules, right? So you always have to make sure that your sources are legit. You're not gonna go and pick something from TMZ and speak it
And
as the
speak-
gospel truth.
But tell you what, I have listened and I'll not mention. I've listened to shows, not just morning shows, but to shows where people are getting content from TMZ, yet they really know it's just clickbait content.
Yes, but if it depends on what segment you're doing. If it's a segment for celebrity news, then it's fine because
Yeah,
it's not gonna affect anyone's life. Like.
But it does. Let me tell you something about the media that I have realized from other people, from other conversations I've had with people. There's some like celebrities who've gone into like real hardcore depression because of how they've been talked about. And I'm now back to Ugandan level,
Yeah.
because it really impacts someone once it's said out
I
on
know
radio.
what you mean.
I
I
was
tried-
at some point listening to XFM. I won't mention the show. So this person stigmatized cats. So I wondered how exactly would this person feel if they listen to that.
So it's also about delivery.
Yeah.
You said how in a world with so many million
much, yeah,
stories,
exactly.
how do you sieve?
Yes.
First, you get the factual information, right?
Yeah.
And then delivery is also something to do with personality.
True.
You get.
Yes.
There are some people
Who are not sensitive enough.
who are like full of hyperbole and exaggeration. The moment they say something and you know that's their personality, you take it with a pinch of salt because you're like, I know this guy. Like, I wouldn't trust what he's saying.
True.
And then there's some people, because of the way they deliver their information and usually how they put it out there, when they say something, you're like, if this person has said this, then it is for sure a fact. But also, I have always tried not to be that attack kind of personality. I think on a whole, I don't want to generalize because we always have people who don't appreciate us or like us.
Yeah.
But I don't have many enemies because there's a line that I don't like to cross, right? I feel like people's personal business shouldn't be entertainment.
It shouldn't
if
make
you're-
news
Yeah,
at all,
even if
yeah.
you're on the entertainment scene. But who you're dating and who you're hooking up with or who you should not have a hold.
One of the
on.
biggest motivators of this podcast was constantly listening to interviews where they're asking celebrities,
Are you single?
are you single? Who are you dating? You're dating this other person. Like, where do we have to know who you're having sex with?
Exactly.
Like, how is that going to help
Now,
us?
when it makes news is if you've been low-key,
Yeah.
we know you are single, but you make it a point to come out and show
Sure.
us your person. Then maybe I'll be
We'll
like...
keep in your business.
Yes,
True,
then maybe I'll be like, oh, it's nice to see that so-and-so has come out with their person.
Mm.
Because that is the statement they were trying to make. And it also is helping them, in their business at the moment.
Sure.
We have all these celebrities, like, if they're about to release a song or an album,
they'll put
they'll
some
make like
drama.
an announcement
Yeah.
to do with like a relationship because they know that's the information that
True,
sells.
true.
We
They
also
even
have
do a
those
whole
with
photo
stage
shoot.
breakups,
Yes.
because
Yes.
they're trying to push an album or a song. So if you have some kind of emotional intelligence, you're able to sense where to keep the line, where to moral ethics, media ethics is a big thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like even things like when an accident happens and people are sharing pictures of like victims, if you did mass communication, you know that
No.
for a fact is wrong. Because one, you
So now, how do I know, as someone who has not done mass communication, how do I then
does
become
it
this?
sink well in your soul? Like if your person,
Well, again, you don't want to entirely put the blame on the people, because you see, we're in a world where people really just, the camera is so close to us that we want to just show that we have, first of all, been to the scenes first. We have also been,
are we able to cut?
yeah, we can
Can
stop.
we cut?
It's okay.
I've even forgotten what it was, but
You were like, how do you tell as a
Yeah.
person who's not a media personality?
Exactly. No, like,
because everything is so
besides-
quick.
so quick. The phones are there. Then also the vanity metrics matter. People need to get the retweets in, the likes and all that stuff. So it's impulsive when I post.
But at what cost? You know?
How do I?
At what cost? That's why I said it has to be able to sync well with your soul. Unless you have no conscience, and there are people like that, and it's fine. Like at the end of that day, choosing who you want to be known as is very key. That is why we have branding. That is
Yeah.
why when you think of different media personalities, different things come to mind. And I feel that one of my achievements over the 20 years has been creating a personality which shows so many different sides, and showing that you don't have to only be one kind of person to be in the media. You can also be smart. You can also be business savvy. You can also be creative. You can also join the music industry. You can also be a friend.
But also,
And
I
nice.
don't think there's a way you would have survived.
The media world chose you. You didn't really choose it.
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's true. Like
So-
actually, literally, the media.
What
world
would you
chose
have been doing if it wasn't for media? Like,
I remember
Do
when
you
my
think-
parents used to ask me, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I would always say a lawyer. Yeah. But in retrospect now, when I think about my personality, you have to be a certain kind of person, I think.
how does it feel though to like be in general? Like, how is it like to be a general's daughter? Like, how do you live with that from like school and
So
all that
weird.
stuff?
Like, I
Yeah.
was having this conversation just yesterday, and someone was saying, I wonder what it would feel like to be an actor or actress's child. Would you take your parents seriously? Because you would think that they're always acting. And then I told the person, I was like, it's the same thing when people say, what does
Yeah.
it feel like to be a general's daughter?
Sure.
Because people have this perception that a soldier is tough.
Exactly.
And it's all about discipline and da da da. But when we're at home, daddy is daddy. Like, we don't see that side. We only recognize that side in terms of how much he has achieved and how much we see him being taken as in
Yeah.
society. But again, because of the discipline he has as a soldier,
Mm.
there are things he will not tolerate, like in his
Exactly,
home, right?
true.
Like, in general, indiscipline cannot be tolerated, and the moment he notices it, he will check it, but not in the way where you imagine that he's gonna belt you. Because now, like, unfortunately or fortunately for him, he's a girl dad. We're like 6 girls, and he loves girls. He
Yeah.
loves his daughters, so he, to an extent, he would kind of like spoil us.
I mean, why not really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but his style of parenting is very unique in that he won't shout at you,
Mm.
he won't beat you, he'll just call you to the side and be like, but honestly, why? I don't think that this
Yeah,
what
this
you
should have
did
been
here
right.
was right, la la la. There'll be moments when his temper will flare a bit, then you'll be like, okay, he is really mad. But those were few and far
Yeah.
between. So yes, being a general's daughter is really opposite of what people imagine it to be. But it also comes with its challenges in that you may feel you're a normal person, a regular person, at home daddy is daddy.
Yeah.
But when you go out there, people
Exactly.
have this perception of you that may be wrong. They think,
True.
oh, she's rich, she's spoiled, she is, of advantage, she has what special favor, things come easy to her. And as a
But
family,
don't they?
no.
reality
As a
things.
family, one thing that we have really tried to do is one, all of us tried to step out of the shadow of our dad and create our own different personalities away from that. Of course, you can't completely cut away from him because that's your dad.
You carry the last name.
But also, like, secondly, we try to work hard. Right?
I
Like,
feel that in the depth of
we
how you
try
say
we
it.
try to work hard. I can tell you for a fact that all of the opportunities that my siblings and I have had, we have created for ourselves. if my dad has had to step in, it's at the point where any parent would have had to step in.
Yeah, but you've just never drowned in your privilege.
You don't pull out your privilege card. You
I
know,
appreciate
those things of gambano, like you're driving on the road and it's past
because you can
curfew.
only have
So
as-
many, right?
chances, yeah.
And also, it's important to realize that not everyone has a positive attitude towards your parent or the government that
Yeah.
they serve.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
How do you
actually-
handle that?
And
though?
actually,
Like,
that
yes,
is
that's
a much
really-
bigger challenge
So
than the
how
privilege.
do you handle that?
right?
That was going to be like my next conversation. How you handle that? The fact that not everyone has to like or really know what really goes down, how people like parents make their decisions and all that stuff.
The
So they have
media
to.
will teach you. The media will teach you. The media.
Are you blessed because you've also been part of the media, so it's
Exactly.
okay? Like you
That's
just.
what I
you know,
mean, as
yeah.
in the media industry.
Oh yeah,
You get.
we'll teach you.
teach you
Okay,
how
all
to
right,
handle
all right,
certain
all right,
things in
all
life.
right, all right,
Like
all
for
right.
example,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are family members of mine.
Yeah.
If certain things were said or written about them, they would
They
break down
wouldn't,
for
sure.
days. But having joined at 13,
Yeah.
you
It's,
can imagine all the articles,
You've seen it.
all the things that have been said, all the TV interviews, all the radio interviews. And then also my dad putting himself in that public space has trained us
True.
because people will always say all these things. So it gives you some form of thick skin where you're nonchalant about things, especially if you feel they're not true.
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
The media, not just here in Uganda, but all over the world, has the ability to lift you up and make you. But it's also important to know that it has the ability to break you down,
True.
right? So that's where you have to be grounded,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
Know who you are,
Mm.
know your strengths, know your weaknesses. And unfortunately, because you're in a public space, you have to go above and beyond
To know your friends.
to really reel in those weaknesses and make sure they don't spill into
Okay.
a space that will.
So you're living very delicate lives of
Yes, like-
you're not entirely living
Totally.
as the average
Listen.
human being.
But as I grow older, it reaches a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm human and I make mistakes. And if they write about it, it's fine. Whatever mistake I know they're going to write about, I'm at past the age where it's going to be detrimental to my brand or to who I am as a person. Like if I go and I'm seen out up to like 3 a.m. having drinks, in this day and age, that's no longer news. Those days, be like, hey, we saw so and so, So it's also about like reaching a point where you're like,
You're self-aware.
yeah, you're like, I'm living my best life. I'm not hurting anyone. This is not affecting anyone else directly. And I'm not staggering out the club or, I'm not walking around like naked. And if I am walking around naked, maybe that's my brand,
Yeah.
because we have some personalities who, for them, they have a certain sense of style. They have a way they do things, and that's okay for them. That's who their personality is. Whatever is being said outside, and you find actually that these people are some of the most hardworking.
Yeah.
They're doing that because they have
a
cause behind it. They're not. You see them, they're like, oh, neck a mini skirt, whatever. But they're doing it because they have things that they're trying to achieve. So me, I'm never judgmental for anyone. As long as they're doing their thing, they're not hurting anyone, they're not coming into my personal space and treating me badly. Because that's one thing I don't like about celebrities.
Have you ever felt like the world has judged you harshly as a family and like belonging and
Yeah, but we love each other so much that's the sheltering part, right? If I wake up in the morning and my sister is not talking to me, that's stressful. Like, my dad is angry with me, that is stressful. But people on social media who I've never met, who have no impact on my life,
Thought about, let's say, if something has happened, where probably they want to come from and consider that, like, you know what, this is where their anger comes from.
yeah. And that's the thing, like, also my dad really, really emphasizes logical thinking. I told you, my mom, I grew up watching news. She puts facts together and creates like complete argument. It's never one-sided. Just because we are in a certain kind of era does not mean that we should be blind to the things that are happening around us. My husband has taught me to be actually more empathetic, because sometimes popular opinion, privilege will blind you to certain things, and it's not your fault.
Yeah, and it's not her fault.
It's not your fault.
It's how.
However, when it does,
But it's important.
attention,
True.
you need to wake up and recognize, and not turn a blind eye and say, because the world is round, and at some point, like, it will have an impact on your life. So people always ask me, why don't you ever comment and speak out on some of these issues,
Yeah.
like online?
Yes.
Because for me, I would rather have a one-on-one conversation, right?
Because that's when you'll feel like you're going to be understood.
Yes.
Yeah, someone is going to see where you're coming from.
Looking like I'm shooting myself in the foot,
I agree.
or looking like I don't understand the people's plight. You get what I mean? You never want to be insensitive in these kinds of situations.
True.
You know?
True. I feel where you're coming
Several people
from.
get killed during election time, and in your head you have a certain kind of. Several people get killed during election time,
Yeah.
and you have a certain kind of argument that you would form in your head. But the bottom line is several people got killed. These people have families, you know?
Yeah.
Whether or not they knew what they were doing, or should and shouldn't have been doing that, people won't remember that. People will remember that what? People died.
Sure.
So I would rather keep my opinion to myself than go out and disrespect someone's mother or someone's son by saying,
This has to be done or something. Yeah. By saying something uncalled for in a time.
They always say, like, if you have nothing of value or addition to add, you would rather hold your peace. You know? Very simple. But it is a challenge. But we always try to be pragmatic. We try to not be blind to what is going on. And on a few occasions, we try to challenge the status quo and be like, but guys,
How does that go?
of course, it's long-winded.
Because the thing is, our way of parenting, let me just use Africa as a sample space, is we don't ever have hard conversations with our parents.
They don't encourage us to ask questions. What they give you is what you go with.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And you do not want to really blame them, because you see they are making very many sacrifices to provide what they do provide.
Yeah.
Situations.
So who are you to start challenging, your father or your mother? That sapatu will come flying at you.
That would be very easy for someone like me, whose dad is an average businessman.
Yeah.
But then for someone like you, whose dad actually serves the country,
Yeah.
it becomes so tricky, because you'd feel like, do you feel like I need to talk to dad about this, but then I can't?
We do, actually. That's why I said people see him in a certain way, but at the end of the day, at home he's daddy. And he's one of those few parents that encourage free thinking.
Yeah.
He'll listen to you and he will argue. You will go up to 3 a.m. Recently, we had a retreat in Chirura in the village home.
Yeah.
Well, Kazo now. And the conversation was vaccination. You know?
And you're not vaccinated. I remember you saying that on the podcast.
Yes. And as on a whole, it's still up in the air for debate. Do we want to keep going and getting booster shots? You know, like, it's a conversation that would happen in every household, right? Because you have anti-vax versus vax. And this, by the way, is not just because of COVID. It's a conversation that has been had internationally from before about, taking your children for vaccination. Like, does it really make sense and things like that?
Because, of course, vaccines have always provided effects on some people and what.
For me, it's not the effect. It's just that for the other vaccines, like, you're going to go and vaccinate and the child won't get polio, right? Or you get that BCG vaccination and there are some diseases in there that your child will not get. My issue here is like, so I'm going to get a free injection and still have a potential of getting this disease. And even if I get the
can still spread it to people and all that.
no, as in even if I get the jab, I might have to get another jab and another jab and another jab until the disease completely dies out.
So it's
Right.
not certain for very many, and let's.
And then
the
there-
COVID conversation because it's really.
It is. And then there are other people in my family who will be like, but guys, like it mitigates the level of risk that you're putting yourself at.
True.
You won't end up in a hospital. So open-mindedness is key. Basic logic is key. Being able to dissect issues, because I can come out of that conversation and be like, you know what, these were valid points that were made. I need to go and vaccinate. But I don't want to do something because it's the conditioning. Like, oh, they said we need to do this, so I need to go do that. They say I have to be a good person, I need to go to church every Sunday. It's not robot mentality. Why do I become a better person when I go to church?
Like that should be a logical.
Yes, it's like systematic thinking. Yeah.
Decisions. So yeah, that makes sense. Do you think radio is still relevant in current day and age? Because you're still doing radio, of course you're going to say yes, but like in the bigger scope of things.
Well, it's not that I'm still doing radio, and so I have to say yes because there's so many other things that I do which are not like this podcast, for example. It's audio visual, and if I didn't think it was relevant because I do radio, I wouldn't be here. But now let's take, for example, Uganda.
Yeah.
Our internet penetration is still low.
So it's stepping up, yeah?
It is. For urban areas, we're lucky to have a stable, steady internet connection and numbers that can afford to buy data. But in terms of like communication and message spread, we have people in Bara, we have people in Gulu,
But
we
now
have
someone
people
like
in...
you who is on an urban radio that is still appealing, yeah, to still the urban market, the fast guys, because it's again English speaking, your show is English
Yeah.
speaking, still appeals to someone ideally who can afford that.
Yes, just because they can afford data does
And
not
like
mean
you
they'll
said,
buy it.
True. And like you said, there's so much information. So
It now comes down to delivery.
okay. How
I can listen to a Shiba song on my Tidal, but have no context behind it, and not even enjoy it until I listen to it on a radio, and a presenter cracks a joke that will make me remember every time I hear that Shiba song. You get my point?
I get your point totally, and that's now
They add,
okay.
radio adds value to content. Yeah?
You have like a broader sense because that example really makes sense. I now really see that because that is why I listen to some music. We get to know some music.
And also, there is so much information, like you mentioned, and there is so much music. There has to be someone that sieves. Right? If you see the number of people that go to their Tidal or their Apple Music or their Spotify, the people who are creating those playlists, some of them are doing it from listening to the music on radio. It's like saying, is bar rotation still relevant for the music industry? Is radio rotation still relevant for the music industry?
Very much so.
If you put your song on Tidal, on Apple, and Spotify, and think it's going to do well, you might have a challenge.
But you know, when it comes to music, that's when you have direct control of your music, and that says a lot about how now the creative arts really gain from the meaning. Like we are supposed to ideally push for these streams.
We do, we should, and we should, and we should. But it's a compliment. No, but it's a.
They don't pay you for your music playing on the radio.
But it should be, and soon we should be able to. That's why we're trying to push this copyright law for the loyalties. Every time my song plays, I should be able to get paid.
You really should.
You get,
how do you
and
think
when
Uganda is going to achieve that? Because you know the laws have always been there. The copyright law is not really the issue. It has been here here for it should be more than 10 years right now since it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, enforcement, then the society as a whole, then artists don't really have, they need to make money. So most of the times they personally upload their music to all these black market sites and all this stuff. So there's no direct control who gets the music, but then media, of course, the radio would benefit from the music more than the artist. And
Until recently, we didn't have UCC.
Okay. That's
When
a
you
fair
talk
point.
about regulation,
Yeah.
we did not have the organizations that can push strongly
Yeah.
for these laws to be respected. Just like in the US. You try and put a song on Facebook or you put it on Instagram, it's struck off. Your
Yeah.
post is struck off. Because they have interacted with bodies and the artists themselves are so keen on making it a point that they work so hard in the studios to produce this music that they don't want it to just go out there for free. Slowly but surely, we are getting there. First, we had to grow the industry, reach a point where we encourage more and more artists to join, produce quality music, do quality videos that we can now confidently actually export even to the outside. Now, once you grow the industry, then there are other things that come. You know, everything can't just happen at once. To grow the industry has taken what? 20, maybe 25 years?
a lot.
Right? So step by step, we'll get to that point. And now, because of the pandemic, it has really pushed artists to go online and get directly paid for their music. So now that they're getting that, they will see the value of having control over your music, and they'll push for it even on the TVs and the radio stations.
Really hope it works out like you just
But
explained it.
why I was trying to bring this all up was that I don't think that the conversation of is radio relevant should be happening. All channels should be complementary of each other.
Well, how do you mean?
In that, just because we are in the digital age should not mean that a radio station should not still operate, right? Because if a radio station is bringing the value to the content, then it's still relevant.
Very relevant. Now, you mentioned something that really opened my eyes on the actual value.
Yeah.
The presenter could just add on just one song and it made really song. It's some good sense. Because then radio also pushes most of it
Yeah.
digital, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like,
So it
almost the
should
same.
be complementary. Same thing with TV.
Now you as a mother, now you're into business, you have to do an early morning show.
Yeah.
Balance. Run away from your daughter literally at 5.
I was
What's it
telling.
like to do a morning show at night? You get out of bed like 5.
Yeah. Well,
You have to
4. It's
So
not
your
easy.
schedule has to like, how do you balance? Before you even go to that daughter bit, let's talk about the morning show with its complications and now a daily job.
Yes.
And how do you sleep? How do you like? How is the planning like for you, Cynthia?
Well, it's planning. Like you said, it's really intricate planning. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine 3 days ago, and I was telling them that everyone has seasons. When people say, how do you balance? I've come to find that it's not actually balancing. It's prioritizing. So there was a time when I took off time from the industry because I felt I've just had my baby. There is no way that I'm going to balance this small toddler, helpless person with all the other things that I would have to ideally do. And so that was my season to stay home and mother. I did the 2 years. She grew up, grown, healthy, and then I made the decision to come back. Now, even in the coming back, there's been seasons. That first getting back into the industry, because if you talk to many media personalities, even music artists, they'll tell you once you decide to take a break, coming back is always really tricky.
Exactly, that was going to be my next conversation.
You know?
How do you
So
really
that
come back to
season,
something?
that season now became, I love my child, but I clearly will not be spending as much time with her as I used to because I am working on establishing myself back into the industry, right?
Yeah.
And then we got to a point where now things are settling down and I've kind of like put my foot back in that door and, you know, we're working towards more brand awareness and things like that. And then there you can now increase the time that you spend with your child or your family. Then business came. And at the beginning stage of business, it's always really difficult. You have to be very hands-on and there. So I had to now juggle being a mom, being on radio, and the business.
And being a wife.
And being a wife, yeah, exactly. Luckily for me, the business is with my husband, so it's actually brought us closer together.
Yeah.
And then we're able to come up with a schedule which favors me to be able to continue to take care of my child, but at the same time, I have bosses who I have to appease. Now, I'll be honest and say that it was hard, and sometimes my work suffered. But now you get into the rhythm of things, and you learn, like, my time is also valuable. You don't have 30 minutes to waste just, like, chilling or waiting for someone. It's literally, sorry, I have to go. I need to do this.
Is very good experience to, like, really back that up. It's not like...
The what?
The 13-year from... You started the industry from 13.
13 years old, yes, exactly. So you learn, but it's not... The obligations and responsibilities you have at 13 are really not... Man, I remember 13, like, looking forward to leaving school.
The anxiety that comes, again, media also comes with that. Now I have to go and talk. The experience really washes away
Yes, because
all
that no longer becomes your challenge. True. Your challenge becomes, like, I need to make sure I'm there on time. I need to make sure the content that I'm talking about is on point. And I need to make sure that I've aligned with my workmate. And I thank God that in my years in this industry, I have been blessed to work with the most amazing people. I don't know how other people's experiences have been, because I've had people who complain, people don't want to teach them, people don't want to guide them, people throw them in the deep end, people sabotage them. There's been those complaints. But personally, I have been blessed. Everyone I interacted with since I was 13, mentored, guided, helped.
Yeah.
They boost you. They encourage you. Everyone is always like, what does it feel like having a co-host? My first co-host was Victor. He taught me everything I know, literally, like how to run machines, how to, be confident.
That was the evening show. I used to like that show a lot.
TXR.
By the way. Yeah, TXR, exactly.
And I was lucky, if I'm to say, because through him, I have learned what it means to work with a team, right? Now I'm working with Derek. Eric has energy. He's young, he's vivacious, he's funny, he could do anything he wanted. But he also understands that I'm in another phase of life. Yeah. So he's very accommodating in that sense.
And that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So. So yeah, getting people along the way who build you up and surrounding yourself with people who will motivate you and keep your energy going is really, really important. My family has played a big role in that there are times when I'll be like, guys, I don't know if I can wake up in the morning and still do all of these other things. And they're like, no, you're doing it so well so far. Like, keep going. Like, we're inspired by you. Like, well done. And also my husband. Yeah. You need that backbone. I don't think many husbands would want to be left early in the morning to go do all of these other things. But as long as you show them that at the end of the day, you guys are important to me, and when it's your time, I'm giving you quality time. Because it doesn't make sense. There are some people who are parents. They go home early. They switch on their TV. They don't know how their child was spent their day. So, yeah. If you're going to give things time, make sure you give them value time. Like, don't just do things because you have to get through the day. Yeah.
You as a person, you're into now food business, radio, and all that stuff. What legacy are you trying to leave behind?
I used to hear people say this about my dad. Like, they say jack of all trades, but then the way that ends is not really how I'm trying to be remembered, because I'm trying to be a master of some. But just generally someone who was well-rounded. Well-rounded in that I always kept my integrity. I always had my confidence up. And this is especially important for young ladies who are coming up and they feel that there are things they can and can't do. No. You can do anything as long as you put your mind to it. There are no limitations. The only thing that limits you is yourself. You know? So that, for me, that's the important message. When my child looks at me and she sees all of the things that I'm doing and I'm doing them well, when she grows up, she will not have anyone telling her, you can't do that. And that is a big, big thing as women we face. You know? Men have been branded as if he wants to do that, he will do it. And that's just what's etched in our brains. But no, women will do it and they'll do it better.
Alright.
Yeah.
That's an argument for
Another day. The women activist in me has come out to play.
yeah, of course, it matters. With how, do you want to raise your child the same way your parents raised you? Do you feel like it was an ideal way of bringing
Definitely
up?
better. Yes.
Better than how your parents brought you up?
Yes. They raised me well. But like we earlier stated,
How do you
things
think
change.
we as parents, I'm also a parent meanwhile, so how do you think we should do better than the previous generation of our parenting? Because then we are dealing with so much now. For people in the media world, again, it goes back to the parenting. We have people dealing with a lot of drug issues. We have that Keko thing in the media that it's, to me, it's even just too small. A lot of my friends have been dealing with all these issues. Let's say you're trying to like look out for the music or what the rappers, the ones that are upcoming. You don't just keep the fast life, and it comes at that cost. So, how do you think? What can be a solution in like not like our society? One, there's a lot of stigma to even the people that need help. So it's really hard for someone who is battling some of these things to like come out. It becomes extremely complicated and hard. Then also in your explanation, if you'd just hint on how you just survived get into, because it's almost probably you've not yet even like fully survived it. Good.
I know.
Exactly.
And some of these things, like, people think that the media industry is what drives people
Which is,
to do those things.
it's just personality. There are people not in the media industry that,
And I don't think that's true.
yeah.
The truth is that being in the media industry will expose you quicker. Because with the nightlife and
The people you get to
the
meet.
people you get to interact with.
Because you're interacting with a lot of creatives. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, the concept of drugs is also interesting. Yeah. There are people who genuinely, let's say, start using marijuana because they need to, like, they feel like they need to get into some mind of them. Like, they will help get into a place where they have a clear mind. Yeah. And maybe they got logged out and they get taken up. Like, it becomes now an addiction. But the person, like, how you start doesn't really matter.
No, again, the media industry does not lead to people getting into this. It just, how can I say, expedites the process in that you will be exposed to
So much.
whatever it is that
probably
they're
are
offering you
supposed
or that you need with a snap of a finger. But you were asking, like, how would I raise my child
in this generation.
So we have to be honest parents.
I
honest
totally agree
parents.
with you because I feel like
And
my parents
open.
were not honest.
And
that
open.
They were loving, they paid everything they had to do, they did their responsibilities, but we didn't have
Honest conversations. Because
yeah,
let me tell
like,
you.
my dad is not like my friend.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
You have
Like,
to be
we-
honest.
yeah.
Like, for example, if you come from a family which is inclined to mental illness or disability or,
Chronics are there.
you know, it is something that you need to be open with your child about and be mindful when you notice signs in them when they're not okay. Addictions. Someone
The
will
question
say
was, how
that
do
person,
avoid addictions in the media.
no, some person will look at an artist and said that person started doing drugs or that person started drinking because they became a musician. And then yet when you go back 3 generations back, that guy's dad drinks. The dad's dad drinks. Now that says something that in that family they're predisposed to drinking, but also it is normalcy.
Yes, like it's the culture.
It's the culture.
True.
So if they get into the music industry, it will be accentuated because at home, we drink,
Now I have
and now the drinks are here. No one has ever told me that it's bad at home to drink, and not just it's bad. Like, explain to your children, or explain to your friends, or explain to the people around you the effects, and then leave them to choose. Because at the end of the day, human beings will always be human beings. But have that honest conversation. Have that open and free conversation
The
with your
awareness must
children.
be provided.
Yeah. And let them know.
Did your dad make this a point? For
Yes, my dad actually used to
Mostly
tell us
'cause,
all the
when
time.
you're soldier, you're exposed already to
Yeah.
all these things, that people use.
Exactly.
Drugs, about it.
Of course,
But
although.
also your girl,
yeah.
so it's hard for like
No.
dad to, like,
My
really
dad.
bring this drug thing up.
No. My dad would tell us all the time. Okay, well, for
Usually
one,
they're
they threw us
accustomed
in church. So, like I said, that verse in the Bible, teach your children the ways of the Lord and you will not depart from it. So church kind of like shelters you in a way. But after a while, the sheltering is not enough. He would tell us, my dad used to do this, and I tried to do it, but then I realized there was no positive effect from this, so I stopped. And then I turned to God. I am not perfect. I have made mistakes. And the moment he started having those honest conversations, when we were old enough to understand them,
Yes.
we knew we did not have to be perfect, but we need to strive to be the best versions of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, even my like between our parents, my dad is the lenient one. If you do something, he's not gonna like really condemn you, or he's just going to bring you close and ask, what was the motivation behind you doing this? Do you think in the long run it makes sense? There was never punishment, or there might be that slight like raise of voice in anger, but that's understandable. He's disappointed or he's upset, but at the end of the day, are you putting your child to the side and explaining to them why their action has caused you so much anxiety and stress? Or you're just yelling at them and shouting at them? And that's why I said we need to strive to be better than our parents. Because in most parents of our time's age, they would either just cane you, or yell at you, or punish you, or just very indifferent. They come, they've done their day's work. They've worked really hard. At the end of the month, there will be school fees for you, and that's all that matters. You know?
Yeah.
That was their goal at the time. I need to provide for my child, give them a better life than I had, and make sure they go to school.
Okay.
Point blank.
Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
My favorite rapper, Jay-Z, in most of his interviews, he talks about, he was a drug dealer, yeah? So he talks about how that is like the biggest regret, being in the business of killing other people.
Yeah.
Now, this business also includes the bar business, the beer business, the liquor business, which you're in.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like
There's a conflict of interest there. Yeah. Especially because I'm not really much of a drinker, so even Jesus turned water into wine. Everything, everything. This is okay.
All right.
Everything in moderation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but look,
Talking.
you are selling me the alcohol, right? And you do not know how much I'm gonna take in.
That's why I'm saying, again, I cannot control what
But you just
do.
do you ever have that conscious feeling of, you know what?
Mostly
All
because
right.
I don't personally partake that much.
Yeah, makes sense.
From that perspective. But it's like looking even. So my weakness, for example, would be like ice cream. Am I going to feel bad that someone's weight or diabetes is going to be up? I cannot. I can only provide a service.
True.
What you do with the service is on you. And in life, again, the key is everything in moderation. Because
True.
even now,
Yeah.
we're having this interview. But if it runs even 30 minutes longer, then it's gonna be boring because people don't have the attention span to.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree
No, but
with
like
that.
everything in moderation. Or I'll be tired and
Yeah.
like my throat will dry up and I'll start coughing. You get what I mean? Like everything in moderation.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel you.
You get like
Yeah.
everything. If you have ice cream in front of you and they've got for you 3 tabs, don't eat all of them because it just doesn't make sense. Like you get diabetes.
I feel you. Now, let's conclude with the rap thing.
Yeah.
Your rap music, one, you are like the only female rapper we now have as a country, like outstanding. Okay, apart from the young ones, like MCs and that.
There's
Like,
so many.
I do not know those other.
They need to come out.
Yeah,
They need to come out.
Yeah, like the established female rapper. Like if anyone talked about female rappers in Uganda, it used to be Keiko so much. Now there's you.
Yeah.
What do we get from you? Why the rap music? Like, why did you choose rap as a career?
Because it just came naturally to me. And what's so funny is like I see my daughter and I think she has it too.
Alright.
Her inclination is towards, hip hop music, rhythmic, repetitive sound, stringing words together. She's really good. She's really good at that. So sometimes, like you said, you don't choose things choose you. Yeah. So I don't know why out of every genre that there is, and I like all music, but specifically hip hop speaks to me. I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up in a time, those Black X. It was a magazine. There were those magazines from back in the day, and mostly they were pushing rappers. The Lil Bow Wows and Lil Romeo and Usher. Well, Usher was like at some point like a singer rapper. Cisco. Those are the artists that were being pushed at the time when I was growing up. So maybe that has something to do with it. Snoop Dogg, Eve.
Plus, also you're a cool kid, so it was very easy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and then there's my mom who would buy me these things every time I requested. So it just perpetuated the interest. But also because I feel like I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, so many people can sing, and especially girls can sing. And I feel that I can sing, but it's a
Yeah, to
unique
like-
quality to write and spit.
How do you rate our rap industry as in terms Uganda? Like the progress,
Oh my God, it's come such a long way. Such a long
progress.
way.
Then how do you see like the future? How do we compete with Nasty C and all those guys?
Those young artists that you're talking about that are still in the woodworks hiding somewhere, they need to be brought up. I wish we had more talent scouts.
I really feel like the talent is all over, but
That's what
how
I'm
it's
saying,
handled.
talent scouts.
What does the scout do?
Someone who is so passionate about the industry that they identify individuals who have that unique skill about them. Because remember, even in the hip hop game in the US,
Yeah.
that is how some of these artists came to the forefront. Someone is at a club, is at a comedy night, is at an open mic, is at a freestyle gig. Someone goes on stage, they hear them, boom. Same thing that's happening with
What
this
happened to
R&B.
whatever was happening at Sabrina?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, many
don't
of
know
those
it-
artists,
maybe
the GNLs and
Yeah,
all those
yeah,
guys,
Yeah.
there was someone doing that. I think maybe because it didn't profit them as much, they gave up too quickly. But right now would be a good time to get back and start it again. I heard someone like Shadrach is getting back into like management, so hopefully that's a good sign that people are recognizing that the talent is there and it needs to be brought back. Talent Africa is doing it with Mackenzie being the A&R, and he's really doing a good job with the artists that are there so far. We
Are
need
you
more.
signed under Talent Africa?
No, but I'm highly affiliated because I do a lot of work with them. I do my music from there most of the time. I have done projects like the UG Cypher 2. I'm now doing MC gigs with them. So it's one of those collaborative.
Yeah, but you're not signed to them as an
no,
artist.
no.
Are you signed to a label?
No,
Do you want to be signed to a label? Do you? Because you see,
I don't think we have a good experience with labels here.
Is it about because again,
The
two
deals-
conversations I've really had.
Yeah.
One I've not really had it. I've read about Keiko's situation
Yeah.
and how Sony had to like
Shelf
shut
her
out,
music, yeah.
Then I've also talked to the Myth, and he's like my friend. We like constantly talk. He tells me the best time in his music career, and he's like a sounding name in the hip hop world, is the time he was managed under Kinetic.
Yeah.
That was like the best time in his music career because he had everything done. He literally just had
But
to
you
focus on
see-
getting the craft.
Yes, and
Right.
and the thing is, if you talk to him more, he'll tell you that the person who was running the label had more interest in fronting the music
And
and
the
bringing
software.
out the biggest potential in the artist. And funny enough, like he was friends with all the artists that were signed under him. So he was doing it from a good place. What we have at the moment is that you get management that's taking advantage of the artist.
Yeah.
And that becomes detrimental to the artist and the brand.
But let's still really look into the management because say
It
for
depends on the deal you sign.
sure.
You get?
Yeah.
And artists need to also wake up and be smart and look out for their best interest.
But then also we're not looking at the labels and how much they're putting into one artist to really make them to the contribution, because right now
Yeah.
you literally have to make a hit song as the label. You have to go and pay the media, you have to push the music, you have to like there's so much you by the time let's say you agree to like a 30-70, it's in its entirety fair enough because
they're
I am
doing all the
investing
work, yeah.
No, you're also putting your creation, yeah, but then I'm making the creation happen.
I can tell, I don't know. I still feel like we can do better.
Because you see now, like you, do you feel like if you're under a label, you'd be bigger than you are?
Definitely. Because like you're saying, the services that management offers takes away pressure from you and all you have to do is create. So in that sense, labels are great in that sense.
Yeah.
But in Uganda, it needs to become more professional. It needs to become more pure. Like intentions need to be pure, and artists need to be smart about the deals that they're
They
signing.
make, yeah.
You know,
Mm.
and maybe we need more labels so that the competition is high.
True,
You
true.
get? I know that if I'm not
This guy
here,
fucks
I
up,
can
yeah.
cross over here, and I'll still have maybe the same or better.
Yeah.
Improvement,
Yeah,
you get?
I see that.
So I'm still looking for that label. When
The
I get
better
it,
one.
yes, the best one.
Have you heard?
When I get it, I'll let you guys know, and you will see the difference and improvement in my. But I have to give it up to those managers
That are really
and labels that are really doing a good job. I feel that, like you said, it's not easy,
Yeah.
and we definitely have to give them their flowers while they're here. But also artists, we need to wake up, because sometimes, do you know that the artist is the one who lets down the
Exactly.
label?
There's that. I was actually just going to
You
bring
know?
that up. Yeah. Character,
if you've reached that, and I think for me that is one of the reservations I have, because I've told you I don't want to do things half-heartedly. Like if I'm in it,
you wanna be in it.
I want to be in it and be like, I am a female rapper artist. I have shows, paid gigs. I'm making music every month. I have like 3 songs shelved in the studio. La la la.
So
la.
right now you're doing music for the fun, because you can't achieve all that if you're still a
Exactly.
businesswoman.
Yes.
If you,
Yes. So on my end, that's why I was saying that I feel that there are other artists, female rappers, who take it like, I think Rachel Ray is like her main.
Oh, I'd forgotten Rachel.
You get?
Yeah.
It's like her main focus, and they should get more recognition because they're doing it
Yeah,
professionally.
I feel you.
But I mean, so far so good in terms of, I think again branding. It does help go a long way to become that association when they think of female rap, and that's the other thing that we need from management, or at least if you're going to be an independent artist, like know how to do it. Our female rappers don't have that. And back in the day, I don't know, like the male rappers used to really come through and help them.
Yeah.
Even me, I was helped by mostly the male rappers. Right now, I think the male rappers are like,
Nah.
hands up, let them sort themselves. So I guess it's up to us, the old school female rappers, to bring
Something
the
like
kids
yeah.
out. Yeah.
I feel you should really do that. It will be. It also contributes to like legacy when people are like.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, maybe I should add that to my 2022 resolution.
And it will be from the podcast. So, what second last kind of like question, but it's not like a question. it's oh my god, it's just getting out of my head. But anyway, it's what inspires the upcoming album? I know there's an album coming because I've listened to you on the Soyinji podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, what inspires the album? What's on the album?
Life.
What's
Life.
the album about? Like, how do you come up with an album as an artist? Do you like drive through a year thinking, then you write down that okay, this
I
will
think
do like
different
a good
artists have
song?
different processes.
No, for you.
So my first EP was called Ninja Attitude.
Yeah.
And it was a compilation of all the songs that I did on the come up. So the mind state that you're in when you're in the come up is completely different from when you've settled in and you've gotten some experience. But at the end of the day, all songs are inspired by circumstances, right? So the return of the ninja in HD is basically I've been gone.
No, you're
And
back.
while I was gone, this is what happened, and this is who I am now. That's basically the gist of it. Like, guys, I have been through some things since you last heard from me, and now you need to hear all about them.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and
Alright.
obviously the lead single, well, not the lead single, but the first single that's off that is Pick Up the Phone. And in these COVID times,
Yeah,
we
I
were
remember
in a-
you had like the COVID, when we're getting into the COVID, you're like into some depression.
Yeah.
I had that.
In these
yeah.
times, like, communication was so essential. If you couldn't get to your person or your people
No,
through the
babe.
phone or through the different social media applications, you would really struggle. Because remember, you can't go anywhere. You can't see anyone. You're in your home dealing with your personal demons face to face.
Alone.
No escape.
Yeah.
And I wasn't working at that time. So until later, I think the second lockdown. So communication becomes very key. So that was basically pretty much
inspiration.
the inspiration behind Pick Up the Phone. Like, please, it's 3 a.m. We need to chat. Like, we need to talk. Like, I'm struggling, but it's a dance song. It's a happy feel good. So you're not gonna put all your struggles in your
there.
first song back, right?
Yeah.
But that's basically it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. What is that one thing that everyone else considers valuable, but you don't?
Money.
You don't consider money valuable?
I said that too quickly. I know if I'm going to be like this.
You pray, yeah. That's why wouldn't you consider money valuable? You're speaking that from a very privileged angle of life.
I know, yeah.
But that's what it is, right?
No, but even without the privilege, I've gone to places up country, and people are so at peace. They're living their best lives. But when you look at the monetary
Yeah. Impact on
Assets.
them? Yeah.
or value around them, it's really not that big.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? They are content with what they have. And for me, that has always been like my the thing that sustains me through life. Like, what I have is enough, and it will get me to where I need to be. Just because I have privilege does not mean that I don't struggle or I don't go through ups and downs. And there are those ups and downs that money can't fix. So yes, maybe I'm able to say that confidently because I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not
And
like
because
I
it's
can't,
you.
Yeah, I can't say like for the most part of my life I have struggled to make money, so I know what that's like. But I do feel that as long as you have God, as long as you have family, as long as you have hands, a brain, and a good attitude,
Good life.
you can always make it through life.
I agree.
You get, like, you can always make it through life. You can always hustle your way and find a way to make it to the next day. It may be tough. It may get better, but you've made it to the next day, right? And you've made that money. Because what's the point of having money when you don't have hands to work? You're not sustaining the money. You're making generational wealth. What's the point of money if you're not happy? You don't have a family.
You speak on God a lot in most of your answers.
Yeah.
Do you understand the concept of God?
Does anyone? I feel like God is.
Are you attached to Christianity because you have to, or because your parents born
I
in
always
Christian?
tell people, for me, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I don't, because I feel like religion comes with like rules and ways that you're supposed to do things, which is also okay because it helps us stay within the moral
it's
compass,
like a nice belief system.
Yeah.
It keeps us in sane and in order.
But I believe in God because I have so many testimonies of His blessings in my life. Like, so many things that I've done and would not have been able to do. Like, people ask me this balancing thing, right? I still say it's not balancing because it's about prioritizing.
Yeah.
But to be able to keep up with it all, it's God's grace. Because first of all, He has given you life to wake up every morning and continue doing what you're doing. 2, He's given you opportunities, because what is juggling if you don't have the opportunities to juggle? And 3, He's given you the grace to do them well. Because it's one thing to juggle things nayenga whenever you're getting calls and complaints from different people. So I just feel like as an individual, whatever you believe in, you have to know that there is something beyond your physical strength. Whether you're Indian, you're Muslim, Buddhist, atheist.
Has God made you for now? Okay, but you'll say yes, because do you think only that? Actually, the question is, what has made you? And this is like last question. What has made you now? What has built you to become like that power, that willpower? Is it like you meditate and get your shit? Like, what makes your day? Is it like you're that spiritual? What are your core values as a human being that, you know what, these just keep me in line regardless of how we're living life?
Just talking to God and people.
When you're on radio, you talk to people.
Talking to God and people. Because I learn something every day from the people that I interact with. The core people being my family, 100%.
Okay, great. Thank you. This was a lovely.
Is it because I said that if we go 30 minutes longer, the podcast will be boring? Thank you, Mark. This was fun.